The moment of death is one of the greatest mysteries that humanity has ever faced. It is a universal experience, something that will touch every single one of us eventually. And yet, it remains shrouded in uncertainty. We live, we love, we grow, and then, at some point, we all must part from this world. But the question that has been asked across cultures, religions, and eras is, what happens to the soul after death? Does it simply vanish? Or does it linger on in some form, tethered to the earth for a time? And if it stays, for how long? In this video, we're going to dive into one of the most profound and fascinating questions about life and death. How long does a soul remain on earth after death? For centuries, people have been searching for answers. Some believe that the soul immediately ascends to another realm, while others think it may linger for days, weeks, or even years. Some cultures say that the soul has unfinished business, while others think it's simply tied to earthly attachments or unresolved emotions. You see, the question isn't just about the duration of a soul's stay after death. It's about understanding the very essence of existence itself. What makes us, well, us? Is the soul an eternal energy that remains linked to the physical world? Or does it break free, heading toward a different state of being? The answers we explore today come from various traditions, beliefs, and personal experiences, from ancient scriptures to modern near-death experiences, and even the testimonies of people who claim to have seen, heard, or felt the presence of departed souls. As we journey through these perspectives, we'll examine religious views, spiritual theories, and scientific ideas. But more importantly, we'll look at the human side of this question. How do we cope with the loss of loved ones? How do we make sense of the possibility that their souls might still be around, watching over us, or perhaps even reaching out? And what does that mean for us as we continue our own journey through life? Whether you're someone who holds strong beliefs or you're just curious about what happens after death, this exploration will offer you insight into a topic that transcends borders, languages, and generations. It is a question that all of us must eventually face, whether we seek answers or not. So let's explore this profound mystery together. Let's uncover the possibility of what lies beyond this world, and whether the souls of those we've lost truly stay with us, just a little longer than we might think. Section 1. Spiritual Perspectives on the Afterlife. When we talk about the soul's journey after death, it's important to recognize that no single belief system holds the ultimate answer. Across different cultures, religions, and philosophies, there are a multitude of views on what happens after we leave this physical world. Some people believe the soul moves on to a different realm almost immediately, while others think it lingers here for a while, helping guide the living or dealing with unfinished business. Let's explore some of these perspectives. In Western religious traditions, particularly Christianity, the belief in an afterlife is central. Christianity teaches that the soul either ascends to heaven or descends to hell, depending on one's actions, faith, and choices during their life. The concept of judgment is often seen as a pivotal moment where the soul's fate is decided. The period between death and judgment is not fully defined, but it is believed that the soul is aware of its fate shortly after passing. Some Christians also believe in the idea of purgatory, a temporary state where the soul undergoes purification before entering heaven. Similarly, in Judaism, there is a diverse range of views on the afterlife. Some Jews believe in a form of resurrection in the Messianic era, where the dead will be revived, while others focus on the concept of the world to come, Olam Haba. In this view, souls may undergo a purification process before entering a peaceful afterlife. The Jewish view of the afterlife is often less detailed than that in Christianity, but it emphasizes the importance of living a righteous life in preparation for whatever happens after death. Moving to the East, the perspectives on the soul's journey after death take on a different form. In Hinduism, the concept of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, dominates. Here the soul is never truly gone. Instead, it reincarnates in a new body based on the karma, actions, of previous lives. This cycle continues until the soul reaches a state of liberation known as moksha, where it is freed from the cycle of birth and death. The time between lives can vary, depending on the soul's spiritual progress and its attachments to the material world. In Buddhism, the cycle of samsara is also central, but with a focus on reaching nirvana, a state of enlightenment and freedom from suffering. Buddhist teachings hold that the soul, or consciousness, is not eternal, but it is rather a constantly changing energy. After death, the consciousness is reborn in a new form, and it is through one's actions, karma, and spiritual practices that a soul can move closer to breaking free from the cycle. Indigenous cultures, including those in Africa, the Americas, and parts of Asia, have their own rich traditions of belief in the afterlife. Often these traditions focus on the idea that the soul doesn't immediately leave the earth, but rather lingers in the natural world, or among the community, guiding and protecting loved ones. Spirits are often believed to have the power to interact with the living, offering protection or messages from beyond. These beliefs illustrate the vast diversity of thought surrounding the afterlife. While some traditions emphasize immediate movement to another realm, others suggest that the soul stays within the earthly realm for a time, offering comfort to the living or undergoing purification. Section 2. The soul's journey through the afterlife. Now that we've explored the varied perspectives on the soul's journey from a cultural and religious standpoint, let's dig a bit deeper into the process itself. What might actually happen to the soul after it leaves the body? While these processes are largely speculative and depend on belief systems, many spiritual teachings agree on some key aspects of the soul's journey. One of the most widely accepted ideas in both religious and spiritual traditions is that after death, the soul undergoes some form of transition. This transition is often referred to as a passing over or moving on. In Christianity, for instance, some believe that the soul faces judgment immediately after death, where its life is reviewed, and it is either sent to heaven, hell, or a temporary state of purification. This idea of judgment is a pivotal moment in many belief systems, where the actions, thoughts, and choices of the individual determine the next phase of their soul's journey. Near-death experiences, NDEs, offer fascinating glimpses into what might happen to the soul. Thousands of people who have been clinically dead for a period of time report similar experiences of leaving their bodies, floating through a tunnel, encountering bright lights, or meeting deceased loved ones. Some describe feeling a profound sense of peace and unconditional love. These experiences suggest that the soul might indeed continue to exist in some form after death, remaining aware of its surroundings or even traveling through different dimensions or planes of existence. In some traditions, there is a belief that the soul remains near the earth for a period after death, either to resolve unfinished business or to bid farewell to the living. For instance, in many cultures, it is thought that the soul hovers around the body for 3 to 7 days before finally moving on. During this time, it may make contact with loved ones through dreams or subtle signs. This period of liminality, where the soul is neither fully in the world of the living nor the afterlife, can serve as a time for both the departed and the living to prepare for the soul's next step in its journey. The idea of souls remaining earthbound is particularly prevalent in spiritualism, where mediums claim to communicate with spirits of the deceased. These spirits are believed to be souls that have not yet moved on to the afterlife and are still connected to the physical world in some way. Some people believe that spirits who linger do so because they are either emotionally attached to their loved ones or feel the need to complete unfinished business. This attachment can result in hauntings or paranormal activities, where the energy of the soul seems to persist in the earthly realm. Additionally, there are many who believe in the concept of soul contracts, pre-incarnation agreements made by the soul to experience certain events or lessons in life. Some believe that after death, souls remain near the earth to fulfill these contracts, guiding their loved ones through signs or spiritual intervention. While there is no definitive answer to the question of how long the soul remains on earth after death, what seems clear is that many people, whether through religious texts, personal experiences, or cultural traditions, believe that the soul doesn't simply vanish after death. It may remain present for a time, helping to guide the living, complete unfinished business, or even undergo a process of spiritual transformation. In the end, the soul's journey is as much a mystery as it is an exploration of the unseen and the unknown. The idea of lingering souls, whether for a short period or much longer, offers us a comforting thought that the ties we share with our loved ones may not be severed completely at death. Instead, the journey of the soul continues in ways we might never fully understand, but can always feel. Section 3. The concept of time and space in the afterlife. When we consider the soul's journey after death, we must acknowledge that our understanding of time and space is limited by the physical world. For most of us, time is a linear experience, days, hours, minutes, each passing moment taking us further from our beginnings and closer to our inevitable end. But what if the rules of time do not apply in the same way to the soul? What if, after death, the soul exists in a realm where time is fluid or even irrelevant? In many spiritual beliefs, time is not bound by the same constraints that govern the physical world. This concept is often seen in the idea that the soul exists beyond the limitations of earthly time, and as such, it may not experience the passage of time in the way we do. When a person dies, their soul may not feel the weight of seconds, minutes, or hours. Instead, it could transcend our understanding of time altogether, existing in a timeless space where moments are no longer fixed or sequential. The quantum physics theory offers an intriguing parallel to this idea. In quantum mechanics, particles can exist in multiple states at once, seemingly defying the laws of time and space. Some theorists propose that consciousness, too, might operate in ways similar to quantum phenomena, existing not as a linear sequence, but as a timeless, omnipresent force. If the soul is considered a form of consciousness, then it might not be restricted by the temporal limits that define our physical reality. For instance, many near-death experiences, NDEs, describe a sensation of time becoming irrelevant. People who have had NDEs often report floating outside of their bodies and entering a realm where time seems to stand still. One minute, they feel they are in a place of eternal peace and light. The next, they return to their earthly bodies. This experience suggests that the soul, when separated from the body, may no longer adhere to the rules of earthly time. The perception of time could expand, stretch, or even vanish altogether. Additionally, there are spiritual traditions that emphasize the timeless nature of the soul. In many of these traditions, the soul is believed to be eternal and unchanging, existing outside the scope of time. Hinduism, for example, teaches that the soul, Atman, is eternal, experiencing cycles of birth and rebirth in a never-ending loop. However, once it achieves liberation, moksha, it is said to transcend time completely, merging with the ultimate reality, Brahman, where time as we know it no longer applies. In this sense, the soul's journey may not be bound by the days or years we measure in our physical existence. While we measure time with clocks and calendars, the soul might experience its journey on a different level, one that is outside of the tangible realm. The lingering of a soul on earth, then, might not be about how much time passes, but rather about the spiritual process it undergoes during its transition. Some philosophical perspectives also raise the idea that time itself might be a human construct. According to certain metaphysical teachings, the world we experience with our senses is not the true reality. The soul's journey exists beyond this material world, and our understanding of time is simply a tool for navigating life. Once we pass beyond the physical body, we may enter a realm where time is not even a relevant concept. For the soul, there may be no distinction between past, present, or future. Everything is in a constant state of existence, free from the constraints that govern earthly life. As we reflect on these concepts, it's essential to recognize that the soul's experience after death might be very different from the one we have in our earthly bodies. The passage of time may not matter in the afterlife, and the soul's journey could unfold according to a completely different set of rules than the ones we know. Whether the soul stays on earth for days, weeks, or years is less important than the deeper question of how it transcends the boundaries of time to continue its journey beyond this world. Section 4. Personal experiences and phenomena. While spiritual teachings and religious doctrines provide rich insights into the soul's journey after death, personal experiences often offer a more intimate understanding of the phenomenon. Countless people have reported strange and unexplainable events after losing loved ones, experiences that suggest the soul does not immediately leave, but instead lingers, offering signs or messages to those still living. These phenomena range from vivid dreams to the physical manifestation of spirits and are often seen as evidence that the soul remains near for some time after death. One of the most compelling and widespread phenomena is the appearance of spirits or ghosts. People all over the world claim to have encountered the spirits of their deceased loved ones, often in unexpected or mysterious ways. These experiences are not limited to one culture or belief system. Stories of ghosts, apparitions, and encounters with the dead are found across the globe. Whether it's hearing the voice of a loved one, seeing an apparition, or feeling a presence in a room, many people believe these experiences suggest that the soul is not quick to leave, but may hang on to earth for a while, perhaps offering comfort or closure to the living. In many cultures, it is believed that the soul stays close to its loved ones for a period after death, often in a protective or guiding capacity. This period can vary depending on the tradition, but some people feel that the presence of the deceased provides reassurance and peace. In Mexican tradition, for example, the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, is a celebration where families honor and remember their deceased loved ones, welcoming their spirits back into the home. Altars are created with photographs, food, and mementos, offering a way for the living and the dead to stay connected. This practice reflects the belief that the souls of the departed continue to interact with the living even after death. Dreams and visions are another powerful way that the soul's lingering presence is often felt. Many people report having vivid dreams about their deceased loved ones, in which they feel that the person is still alive or communicating from beyond the grave. These dreams can be remarkably vivid and real, often filled with symbolic messages or feelings of love and comfort. Some believe that these dreams represent the soul's attempt to reach out to the living, either to offer reassurance, share a final message, or simply say goodbye. Beyond dreams, there are also reports of signs from the departed. Strange occurrences like lights flickering, objects moving, or even unusual sounds in the home. People who have experienced these phenomena often interpret them as signs that the soul is still present, trying to communicate in some way. These experiences may seem eerie or unsettling to some, but to others, they offer a sense of peace, a reminder that the bond between the living and the dead may not be severed completely. These personal experiences suggest that the soul may not immediately leave the physical world, but rather lingers for a time. Whether the soul is tied to unfinished business, attachment to loved ones, or simply a lingering connection to the earth, the idea of spirits staying close offers comfort to many who are grieving. The connection between the living and the dead may be more enduring than we realize, as souls seem to maintain a presence in our lives long after they have left their physical bodies. The belief in lingering souls challenges our conventional understanding of life and death. It invites us to consider the possibility that death is not an abrupt end, but rather a transition, a process that may involve lingering connections, emotional bonds, and spiritual journeys that continue in ways we cannot fully comprehend. The experiences of people who have felt the presence of departed souls remind us that death, while a natural part of life, does not sever the invisible threads that connect us to those we have loved. Section 5. Healing and closure after death. One of the most powerful aspects of the idea that the soul lingers after death is the potential for healing. Grief is a profound and personal experience, one that can leave an indelible mark on the living. The loss of a loved one can feel like a rupture, a deep void where once there was presence, comfort, and love. But many people believe that the soul's continued presence after death provides an opportunity for healing, both for the departed and the living. The lingering soul is often seen as a bridge between the physical world and the afterlife, offering reassurance to those left behind. In many cultures, there is a belief that the soul stays near its loved ones for a period after death, allowing them time to adjust and come to terms with their loss. Whether this involves dreams, signs, or a sense of peace, the presence of the deceased can bring comfort to the grieving. It serves as a reminder that the relationship does not end with death, and that love continues to flow, even beyond physical existence. The idea of the soul offering closure is particularly prevalent in spiritual practices and beliefs about the afterlife. In some cultures, rituals are performed to guide the soul to its next destination, ensuring that both the deceased and the living are able to find closure. For example, in Tibetan Buddhism, there is a belief in the bardo, the intermediate state between death and rebirth. During this period, it is thought that the deceased's soul may linger near the earth, and through prayer and rituals, the living can help the soul transition to the next stage of its journey. These practices provide a sense of comfort and peace, knowing that the soul is not left in a state of limbo, but is being cared for by the living through their spiritual acts. In Western traditions, such as Christianity, there is often a focus on the soul's judgment and its final destination. But even within this context, there is the belief that the living can play a role in aiding the soul's journey. Prayers, memorials, and other acts of remembrance are thought to help guide the soul toward its final resting place, whether it be heaven, purgatory, or a state of eternal rest. These acts of devotion help provide the living with a sense of purpose and comfort, knowing they are contributing to the soul's peaceful transition. On a more personal level, many individuals who experience the death of a loved one claim to feel their presence long after they have passed. Some report hearing their loved one's voice, seeing them in dreams, or even feeling their touch. These experiences can provide deep emotional healing, allowing the individual to process their grief and find peace in the belief that their loved one is still present in some form. In this way, the lingering soul not only provides comfort, but also helps the living understand that love transcends death itself. The idea that the soul can remain near the earth after death and offer emotional healing to the living speaks to the deep connections we form in life. It is a reflection of the belief that death is not a final severance, but rather a transition to a different plane of existence. Whether it is through personal experiences, dreams, or spiritual practices, the concept of the soul's lingering presence offers an opportunity for both the departed and the grieving to find peace, closure, and healing in the aftermath of loss. Section 6. The concept of moving on. While the belief in lingering souls offers comfort and healing to many, there is also an important spiritual concept that emphasizes the need for the soul to eventually move on. For the living, letting go of a loved one is often one of the most difficult challenges, but there is a spiritual lesson to be learned in the idea that both the departed and the living must find ways to release attachments and allow for the next phase of the journey. In many spiritual traditions, the act of moving on after death is seen as an essential step for the soul. Souls that remain attached to the earthly realm, whether through unresolved issues, emotional bonds, or unfinished business, are thought to be trapped in a state of stagnation. This attachment can prevent the soul from progressing to the afterlife or its next incarnation, which can result in suffering for both the soul and the living. The idea of releasing attachments is central to many Eastern philosophies, particularly in Buddhism. In Buddhist teachings, attachment to the material world is seen as a source of suffering. The soul, in its journey through samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, must learn to detach from earthly desires and attachments in order to achieve enlightenment and ultimately reach nirvana. This process of detachment is seen as a spiritual necessity, both for the living and the deceased. The soul must let go of its connection to the physical world in order to move on to a higher state of existence, free from the cycle of reincarnation. In Hinduism, the idea of moksha represents the ultimate release from the cycle of birth and rebirth. When the soul reaches a state of purity and detachment from earthly desires, it is said to achieve liberation. The soul no longer needs to remain bound to the physical world, and it is free to merge with the divine. This release from the earthly realm is seen as the soul's highest goal and represents the end of its cycle of suffering and reincarnation. Even in Western religious traditions, there is a concept of the soul moving on to its final destination, whether it be heaven, hell, or another realm. In Christianity, for example, the idea of judgment is central to the afterlife. Once the soul has been judged, it is either allowed to enter heaven or is separated from the divine presence. The soul's journey in this case involves moving on to its eternal destination, a transition that is seen as part of the divine plan. In a more personal sense, the living must also learn to release their attachments. Grief can often create an emotional bond that feels unbreakable. Many people find it difficult to accept the reality of death because they feel the loss so deeply. But the spiritual teachings across cultures suggest that releasing these attachments is not only essential for the departed soul's journey, but also for the healing of the living. The living must learn to let go and trust that their loved ones are at peace, allowing them to move forward in their own lives. Ultimately, the concept of moving on is not just about the soul's journey after death, but also about the living's journey after loss. It is about learning to release attachment, accepting that life and death are part of a greater cosmic flow, and finding peace in the knowledge that the soul's journey continues beyond our understanding. The living must learn to honor their loved ones by letting them go, while trusting that the soul's transition is a necessary and natural part of the eternal cycle of existence. By doing so, both the living and the departed can find peace and closure, allowing the soul to continue its journey toward enlightenment, liberation, or the next phase of existence. Conclusion: the infinite journey of the soul. As we've explored, the journey of the soul after death is a profound mystery, one that has captivated humanity for centuries. We've looked at various spiritual beliefs, religious teachings, and personal experiences that suggest the soul does not simply vanish into nothingness after death. Instead, it seems to persist, lingering in some form, whether it is transitioning into another realm, offering comfort to loved ones, or moving through a process of spiritual purification. The soul's journey, though shrouded in mystery, is far from being a static end. It is, rather, an infinite journey that transcends the boundaries of life and death. The notion that the soul continues after death challenges us to rethink our understanding of life itself. If the soul is indeed eternal, then the bonds we share with those we love, even after they have passed, might not be as fragile as they seem. The idea that our souls continue to evolve beyond the physical realm suggests that life is a continuum, a never-ending process of growth, transformation, and connection. Death, in this light, becomes less of an end and more of a transition, an important step in a greater cosmic journey that we may not fully comprehend in this life. The comforting thought that the soul might remain with us for a time after death offers a deeper connection to our loved ones, even after they have left this world. Whether through dreams, signs, or subtle feelings, the belief that our loved ones are still near can provide immense comfort. It allows us to feel that their love and presence continue to shape our lives in ways that go beyond the material world. The soul's lingering presence, whether it lasts for days, months, or years, offers a reminder that love, memory, and connection are eternal. At the same time, it is important to remember that the soul must eventually move on. The act of releasing attachments and allowing the soul to transition is an essential part of both the departed's journey and the healing process for the living. Letting go is never easy, but it is necessary for growth and peace. Whether it's through spiritual practices, personal reflection, or simply accepting the cycle of life, finding closure is vital to our own spiritual well-being. It is through this release that the soul can continue its journey to its next destination, while we, the living, move forward, carrying the lessons of love, loss, and renewal. The infinite journey of the soul is ultimately a story of transformation, not just after death, but throughout our entire lives. Whether we believe in an afterlife, reincarnation, or simply the eternal existence of consciousness, one thing is certain. The soul is not bound by the physical limits of this world. It continues to evolve, to connect, and to transcend. Death may mark the end of one chapter, but it is also the beginning of another, one that leads the soul toward greater understanding, peace, and unity with the universe. As you reflect on this journey, know that the love you share with those who have passed does not end. It continues in ways that transcend time and space, in ways that reach beyond the confines of our understanding. And as we continue on our own journeys, let us carry the hope that, like the soul, our connections, our love, our memories, and our growth are infinite and eternal.